Today's lesson is tax and tip. Our goal is that we can use proportions and percent knowledge to find tax and tip. Many people use benchmarks for determining tax and tips. Gil explains his strategy. I always figure out 10% of the bill and then use this information to calculate a 15 or 20% tip. Find 10% and 5% of $20. How are the 2% related? So 10% of 20. So we can take what we know about our percents to figure this out. Okay, so what we're going to do is take what our cross products, or well, our proportions, set that up with what we know. We're going to put our 100 down here, and it's out of 10%, and it's $20. So we're trying to find this one right here. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply and divide 20 times 10 divided by 100, which is going to give us 2. So this right here, we'll actually take it out, and we know that it is 2. And I'll do that in a different color so it stands out. Okay, so we know that 10% of 20 is $2. Okay, so then if we know that information, and then we want to find 5% of that, well, 5% would be half of 10%. So we could take that information and just cut that in half, or we could still use the old standard and just do this. And if we do 20 times 5 divided by 100, we're going to get 1. Okay, but we can use the benchmarks that we mentioned up above, and we can determine that that half of 5%, or half of 10% is going to be 5%. So, we're going to use a different color. Half of 10% is 5%, right? Therefore, it's going to be $1. Okay? So, if we found 10% and 20% of $24.50, well, so we can still do it the same way. So we've got 100 here, 10 here, 24.50 here. So 24.50 times 10 divided by 100 is going to give us $2.45. Okay? So now to find 20% of that. Well, if we use the same thinking as we did over here with half of 10, well, instead of doing another cross multiply and divide, I can do this in my head, right? 20% is just doubling 10%, right? So if I double 10%, I get 20%, right? So then I would do $2.45 times 2, and I'm going to get $4.90. Okay? All right, and then find $10 or 10% of $17.35. Okay? So same idea here, same concept. So 10%, and it's $17.35. Okay? Well, 17.35 times 10 divided by 100 is going to give me 1 735 hundredths. Well, this is money. So I can't do 1 735 hundredths. I've got to round this to the nearest penny, right? So we're going to round this right here. Tells me to round to $1.74. Okay. All right, and then I have to find 15% and 20% of this. Well, I have to cut this in half to find 15%, right? Because half of 10% is, or half of 10% will give you that 5%, and then I'll add those two together, right? So 15% is going to be 10% plus 5% to give you 15%. So half of this is, let's see, 87 cents. Okay, so then when we add those two together, it's going to give us our 15%. Remember, it's going to be 261. So this is 15%. Okay, and then $1.74 times 2, which is doubled. All right, so this is 20%. Okay, all right. Sales tax in Khadijah's state is 5%. Khadijah says she computes a 15% tip by multiplying the tax shown on her bill by 3. For a bill with a tax charge of 38 cents, Khadijah's tip is 38 cents times 3, which is $1.14. Why does Khadijah's method work? Okay, think about what we were saying on the previous slide. We said that 10 cut in half, and then gave us 5, and then added to the 10 gave us 15. So think of the way we get 15. 5 times 3, that would work. So we said 5%, I'm not sure why I did that, 5% times 3 is 15%, right? So that's why that works. Okay, so if we wanted to do a 20% tip, we would do 5% times 4 to give us 15, or sorry, to give us 20%. Okay. All right. So that is how we calculate our tax. Our tip. Tip is an add-on. It is additional charge to your bill when you go to a restaurant or anywhere else where you have to tip your people who are helping you out. You tip when you go get your hair cut, or I'm trying to think different people that you tip. You tip a lot of places. You know, when you get your nails done, ladies, when you go to, I had one, I lost it. Anyway, so you do tip quite a few different places where people help you out and people serve you. So hope this helps. If you have questions, as always, come see me. Thanks for viewing.